Clown in a cornfield. It stood in the moonlight like a scarecrow come alive. At first I thought it was the old field marker my brother and I used to laugh about, the one with a hat and a flapping shirt. Then it turned its head. The movement was too slow, too smooth. The white face under the moon showed a painted smile and dark eyes that did not reflect light the way normal eyes do. My hands shook on the steering wheel. The truck's engine ticked and cooled. I had stopped for 1 second to look, and suddenly my whole world was only that pale face and the rustle of corn. I killed the lights and the only thing I could see was the clown. It stood between the stalks, alone in the wide, dark field, perfectly still. I could hear my own breath loud in my ears. I told myself to drive away. I told myself it was a person in a costume, a prank, something explainable. I put the truck into gear and backed up, then a sound made me freeze. Like cloth moving against wood, but softer, like someone dragging a shoe over dry leaves. The clown turned its head again and then, in a movement that did not belong to any person I had ever known, it smiled wider and stepped one slow step back into the corn until it vanished between columns of green. I stopped the truck. I stared at the place where it had been. The corn was pale in the moonlight and the rows ran like teeth into the dark. For a moment everything felt like a movie I had seen too many times. Then a rustle came from the left row, then the right, tiny sounds at first, like mice, and then louder, like people moving but not at all like people. It sounded as if something was circling my truck. I turned the dome light on so fast my eyes stung, and the light showed nothing but the wet glass and my reflection, wide eyes, a pale face, a boy who had thought a fall festival was the biggest thing he would worry about that year. The horn bleated when I hit it by accident. The sound rolled into the field and died. For a second there was silence so deep I could hear the truck's cooling engine. Then, from behind the stalks on the passenger side came a slow, high laugh. It was not the giggle of a child and not the deep belly laugh of a man. It was hollow, and it seemed to come from many tiny mouths all at once. The hair on my arms rose. I watched the window and for a heartbeat the cornstalks looked like a wall of faces waiting for me to blink. The laugh softened into a whisper and the whisper sounded like my name. I want to tell you it stopped there and I drove away. I wish I could. But the thing about small towns is you think you know the map of your own roads, and you assume the dark stays where it belongs. I had been to the fall festival that night, hot cider, a Ferris wheel, smoky barbecue. I had laughed with friends and leaned on the truck bed and told stupid jokes. My name is Tyler Haynes. I'm 17. I live on the edge of town where Route 9 meets dirt and the cornfields start. I know how corn smells on a hot day and how it whispers in the wind. I never believed in clowns who hunt at night. It began small, the way bad weather begins with a single cloud. A month before, there were stories at the diner. Someone saw a clown near Miller's Pond. A group of teenagers posted a shaky video of a man in bright makeup standing under an overpass. Kids dared each other to leave notes in the corn. People laughed and called it a prank wave. Creepy clowns, the news said, and then everyone forgot. But the stories kept coming, like some radio station stuck on the same sad song. A farmer found footsteps that were too tall for any man. Mrs. Carter's dog would not go into the yard after dusk. The sheriff shrugged and said there was no proof, but he started patrolling Route 9 at night a little more. The festival night felt safe when we left. Lights, chatter, the Ferris wheel turning like a slow sun. My friends dared each other to eat fried dough and to ride the scariest ride. I promised my mom I'd be home by 10 and I meant it. I got in the truck and rolled down Route 9, windows down to let the cold summer-scented air move through. The fields flickered on either side like dark seas. The moon was thin and sharp. When I saw the clown I thought, a scarecrow, a prank, a joke for social media. I slowed down because curiosity is sticky. After that first scare, I should have driven off and called Mark or gone to a house with lights. Instead I watched. Bad decisions are always small at the start. I told myself to get a photo, to prove to everyone that I had seen something. I fumbled for my phone. My thumb hit the screen, the camera woke up, and the moment I pointed it toward the gap in the corn, the laugh started again, close this time, like something at the shoulder of my truck. I swung the camera and caught nothing but waving leaves and a shape too thin to be a person gliding between two rows. The video was mostly black with a sliver of white makeup for one frame. When I played it back, the frame was gone, like someone had cut the film. The rustling grew louder. It came from all around, a slow movement like traffic under water. My neighbor's farmhouse was a tiny square of light in the distance. I thought of running to it. I thought of opening the door and hiding in the back and waiting for daylight. I thought of my little sister sitting on the couch at home, probably watching TV. My chest tightened. The laugh changed its tune and became more patient, like someone who has waited a long time for a door to open. Then the passenger side window fogged from the inside, slowly, as if someone had just breathed close to the glass. Letters traced across the fog. I couldn't read them at first because my hands were shaking, but the shape of the letters started to make sense. A single word, written by a slow, careful finger: watch. I slammed the truck into reverse and peeled out of there with my heart in my throat. The taillights melted the dark and I drove like someone who is late for a funeral. But I could not forget the way the corn seemed to bend as I passed, a dozen tiny heads turning at exactly the same time to watch me go. I should have kept driving until the town swallowed me. I should have never looked back. I didn't. I glanced in the rearview, and in the mirror where the road glowed red and the field was a black wall, I saw, only for a second, a white face between the stalks, closer than the first. It smiled, and then a dozen more white faces rose like pale moons between the corn, as if the field had opened its eyes. My stomach dropped. I stomped the accelerator, and the truck lunged forward. The world blurred into road, light, and the pounding of my heart. I did not stop until the diner lights washed over my windshield and the radio came back on with a song I knew. I laughed then, high and sharp, the kind of laugh that is half relief and half the sound of something loose in a cage. But the radio buzzed and cut for a second, and a voice, soft and impossible, passed through the static and said, in a tone like someone whispering from inside a pipe, "See you soon." I reached my driveway, turned off the engine, and sat staring at the dark fields like a man who has read the last page of a book and cannot put it down. I opened my phone again. There was a single notification, from a number I didn't know: "Did you like the show?" I didn't sleep that night. I lay in my room with the blinds shut tight and my phone on my chest, waiting for another message I prayed would never come. The only sound was the ceiling fan ticking like a slow heartbeat. Every time the house creaked, I jumped. Every time a car passed on Route 9, I imagined circus music drifting behind it. I told myself it was over. I escaped. No one followed me home. But fear has a way of whispering, "What if you're wrong?" At sunrise, everything looked normal. Birds sang, my sister ate cereal, the TV played cartoons. But when I stepped outside to head to school, my breath caught in my throat. On the passenger door of my truck, written in long, lazy streaks of dust, was a smiley face. Not a cute one. The eyes were too big and the mouth curved just a little too far upward. I wiped it off fast, pretending I hadn't seen it, pretending my shaking hand was just cold. But I knew the difference between a prank and something that watches you. School was a blur. I tried to act normal, but every time someone laughed behind me, my shoulders tightened. I kept imagining white face paint and bright colors just out of sight. A couple of kids talked about strange sounds they heard near Miller's farm last night. I nearly dropped my books. I wanted to tell them everything, but how do you say? "A clown wrote a message in the fog of my window." They would laugh. Or worse, they would believe me. By the time I got home, the sky was turning gold and the cornfields stood still like giant walls. My mom asked me to take out the trash. I said yes, but my stomach twisted. The trash can sat near the edge of the yard, close to the start of the fields. I walked out slowly, the air thick and warm. The corn whispered in the breeze. I kept telling myself, daylight. Daylight means safe. Everyone knows monsters don't come out in the day. Halfway back to the house, something moved. It wasn't loud. Just a soft shift, like someone brushing past a coat on a hanger. I froze. The corn nearest the fence rippled, one thin line moving straight toward me. My heart slammed. I backed away inch by inch, trying not to make a sound. When the rustling reached the fence, it stopped suddenly. The whole field went quiet. Too quiet. Not one bird. Not one cricket. Then something long and thin slid up between the stalks and grabbed the fence. A hand? Pale. Gloved. With 3 faded diamonds drawn on the back. The hand didn't climb over. It just gripped the fence gently, like someone holding a doorknob before turning it. The smiley face message on my truck flashed in my mind. I sprinted for the house so fast I nearly tripped on the porch steps. I slammed the door, locked it, and pressed my back against it. Mom looked up from the kitchen, confused. I lied and said a raccoon scared me. The truth felt too heavy to say out loud. That night, I sat in the living room pretending to do homework while my sister colored pictures at the coffee table. Every few minutes she'd stop, tilt her head, and stare toward the front windows. "What are you looking at?" I asked. She shrugged. "I thought someone was outside." My blood went cold. We didn't live close to neighbors. And at night the yard was just a patch of grass melting into a dark sea of corn. I walked to the window and peeked through a tiny slit in the blinds. At first I saw nothing but shadows. Then a small spot of color caught my eye. Red. Just a hint, like a tiny piece of a balloon peeking between the stalks. I blinked. It was gone. I told myself I was imagining things. That stress makes you see shapes that aren't there. But then my sister spoke again, her voice soft and dreamy like she was telling a secret she didn't understand. "He waved at me," she said. I spun around. "Who waved at you?" "The clown," she answered simply, like she was talking about a character on TV. "The one in the cornfield." She kept coloring, completely unaware of the way my spine turned to ice. I went to bed early, locked my door, and kept my phone plugged in beside me. I tried to listen for footsteps or laughter or anything. Hours passed. My eyelids grew heavy. The house fell quiet. I must have drifted off, because the next thing I remember is waking to a soft tapping. Tap, tap, tap. I forced my eyes open. The sound was coming from my window. Tap, tap, tap. I sat up slowly, my heart pounding so loud it drowned out everything else. I looked across the room. Through my closed curtains, a dim round shape pressed against the glass, like someone's face leaning in, nose first. I couldn't breathe. Then, through the thin fabric, a silhouette lifted a hand and began to draw. Long, slow strokes. Just like the message on the truck. I stared in frozen horror as the shape finished the drawing and then held still. All I could see was the outline of a giant grin stretching across the curtain. Then something even worse happened. The grin moved. And a voice, muffled by the glass but clear enough to slice right through the dark, whispered, "Tyler, come see the show?" The curtain rustled. And the face pressed closer. Everything around me went silent. Then, without warning, my phone buzzed beside me. One new notification. From the same unknown number as before. It said, "Look outside.